The 9th of August 2008, 4 a.m. Cumberland, Indiana. My wife and I have a new puppy, and if you've had one, you know that they have to piss every time they wake up from a slumber. She sleeps in the bed with my wife and I, and she was awake and restless around 4-ish. I took her outside on our back porch, hoping she would go to the yard. As she started to pee on the concrete, I picked her up and walked out into the yard and sat her down, and patiently awaited numbers 1 and 2 from the little pup. The skies were mostly clear, so I took a deep breath, the fresh air we have at night lately, and was looking up to the south when something like a fast-moving bird coming from the east caught the corner of my eye, and in a split second as I started to look toward it, the bird, which it clearly wasn't, lit up and became a washed-out amber, very bright, almost white, streak that then became 2 streaks that were connected at both ends like an oval, open in the middle, then shifted back to a single streak before the lights went dark and the object shot off into the west. And it appeared to be fired into the sky during this sighting. I was able to see it after the lights blacked out for a split second, just as I did when it caught my eye initially. The speed was faster than any jet fighter that I have ever seen, been to many air shows, and left me with some serious goosebumps.
The 21st of September 2008, 12 a.m. Indianapolis, Indiana. First, I would like to point out that my boyfriend and I noticed this star-like object for the first time about 2 weeks ago. Ever since then, we started going outside at night, usually after 9 p.m., and sit on the front porch to look at it. At first we thought it was the satellite station because it was brighter than the other stars, but we then realized we were wrong, since we spotted the station directly opposite of this object. How did we know it was the station? I looked up the schedule online and it stated that the satellite station would be in my area between Sept 8 to 20. It is now the 21st and this object is still outside, only this time it's situated in another area. I did some research online about stars. Yes, stars emit color, but usually it is only one color. This object emits several colors: blue, red and green. Not only that, it shifts. I remember the other night, we went outside around 10:15 p.m. to check this star out. It was situated just above the roof of the house in front of us. Literally about 40 minutes later, it shifted to the right of the house in front of us. Yes, I understand that stars shift due to the Earth's rotation. As a matter of fact, I read that stars shift by about 1/365th of 360 degrees per day, which is something like 1 degree. The key words here are per day, not per 40 minutes. My initial feeling were goosebumps, and then a thought came to me, a ridiculous thought. Don't stare at it or its light will paralyze you and lure you in. Yes, ridiculous. I'm still here, thank God. I'm wondering if this object is here on a mission, gathering information, or perhaps reading our minds. In any case, I am not afraid. I don't believe in the whole War of the Worlds idea. Rather, I feel they're like scientists, definitely more advanced than we are, here to do research. Unfortunately, I do not have any pictures nor any multimedia attachments for your viewing pleasure, since the deliverable is very poor, though I am sure that many are able to see it with their own eyes.
I am a police field sergeant. While working on Friday, October 24, 08 at about 10:20 p.m. I was parked in a parking lot in the downtown Indianapolis area since it was a slow night. Over the downtown horizon and in what appeared to be the northeast quadrant of Marion County, Indianapolis, at what appeared to be about 10 miles away from my location, I observed about 10 to 15 circular, amber, orange lights, floating or flying upwards and into the wind. I could not tell if these objects were leaving the ground or just rising from a lower altitude because of my view being obstructed from the buildings downtown and the horizon in general. Initially I saw 3 of these objects rising. They looked like they were equally spaced apart, but at different altitudes. I don't believe it was one unit, but rather 3 separate objects. About 20 seconds or so after the first 3, I observed 3 to 4 more of these objects ascending in the same manner as the first 3. Then shortly after, I observe about 6 to 8 more of the same type objects following the same path. I don't believe they were hot air or helium balloons because I wouldn't think they would fly into the wind. However, I am no expert, and they may be capable of just this. It was a somewhat rainy and cloudy night, however not raining at the time, but after their objects got so high, I could no longer observe them. I am not sure if this was due to the clouds blocking my view, the lights going or burning out, or some other reason. I did not see any mention of this on the local news. I also seen what appeared to be a commercial aircraft heading towards the object's path. The aircraft and wind was going from west to east, and the amber-lighted objects were going from east to west at a somewhat gradual pace or variance. The objects cleared the aircraft's path about 20 to 30 seconds prior to the aircraft arriving in the area. I assume the aircraft had just left the Indianapolis International Airport, located on the west side of Indianapolis. I also sent an email to the Indianapolis Star to inquire as to whether anyone else has reported these objects or if there might have been a legitimate reason for their presence, but so far I have not heard back. I attempted to take cell phone camera picture and video, but you can't see the objects due to poor camera quality in cell phones. Again, maybe these were balloons or something else not unusual, but I have seen this before. I also want to mention that several hours later I did see what is mistakenly called a shooting star, in the same direction as the objects. This was unusual to me because of my earlier sighting, as well as the fact that this one appeared to be brighter and close to the ground than any previous shooting star I have seen before. I know they really aren't stars, but rather meteorite pieces or something like that. But the shooting star could just be a coincidence. Thank you in advance for your time and consideration in this matter. Hopefully it gets figured out and it's some simple explanation.
The 25th of October 2008, 9:31 p.m. I was on the north side of Indianapolis driving west on 86th Street. At College Avenue, I saw 4 orange fiery lights in the sky. The lights were headed north-northeast. I turned north on College to follow the lights, which were hard to track because of trees. I turned east on 91st Street and pulled into an apartment complex to get out of the car and watch them as I called a friend to come to meet me. The sky was dark. The UFOs appeared as orange fireballs and moved in complete silence. The 4 fireballs were headed north-northeast toward US 31. We were about 80 miles south of Grissom AFB. As soon as the 4 UFOs were out of sight, I looked back and saw 4 more come from the same direction. They were not flying in formation, but all proceeded north-northeast. A friend caught up with me in time to see the last UFO, which, as he said, hovered and lowered and then took off fast enough to disappear before his eyes. I didn't see the last UFO because a tree was blocking my view. I wonder if they were experimental military craft, weaponry.
The 7th of July 2008, 9:15 a.m. on the morning of the sighting, we were in a rural area of Indiana. My son and I were headed east in my vehicle on Carroll Road when I spotted a cylinder-shaped UFO, looked like a fuselage of a plane, no wings, above the tree line about a mile away from us. It was huge. There was no sound. It looked very metallic. It reflected the sunlight. Standing still, no noise. I turned the car around to get a better look and it started to move slowly and then it just disappeared. When I got home I called the Indianapolis Airport Authority, FBI, Mount Comfort Airport, Indiana State Police. There had not been any other reports made. I still cannot figure out what I saw, but whatever it was really close to us, and I felt very strange afterwards.
I live on the southeast side of Indianapolis, near Beech Grove. I was coming home from a buddy's house a little after 1 a.m. I pulled in my subdivision, and when I was turning onto my street, I saw 2 bright white-orange lights off to the northwest. I stopped my car at the intersection, and watched the lights for 2 to 3 minutes. They were moving very slowly, but surely were headed right towards me. While they were still 2 to 3 miles away, I quickly pulled in my driveway and got out to have a wider view. They were moving northwest to southeast, but when they were about a mile away, they turned straight south. I kept my eyes on them, and they moved ever so slowly closer. By the time they were as overhead from me as they could be, they could not have been more than a half mile away, maybe 2,000 feet in the air. When the first one passed, I saw 1 large orange oval light on the bottom, 6 more round white lights in the middle, a smaller red light on each side, and 3 white lights on what appeared to be the tail, wing, of the craft. It was emitting 2 orange contrails, about the length of the craft, that could not be missed. They were very luminescent. After the first 2 crafts passed, I looked back to the north, and I saw another emerge above the trees, and as it passed, another one came into view. All of them were following the exact same path, almost like planes in a flight pattern near an airport, and all of them looked identical. The odd thing about this was I've never seen a plane with this many lights on the bottom, especially with an orange light, and I live a good 30 miles from IND Airport. None of these crafts made a sound as they passed overhead, which is also odd because of the close proximity of them, and the wind was blowing straight in my direction, which would have helped any sound emitted reach me. If they were jets, they would have easily been heard. The same goes for helicopters, small private planes, etc. It made no sense to me what I was witnessing. I saw no more of them coming after 15 minutes or so I proceeded to go inside. I watched the last part of Conan O'Brien, and on my way to go to bed, I peered outside one more time. Strangely enough, I saw one more craft, identical to the first four. It followed the exact same path also, and it was going quite a bit faster than the first four, almost as if it was trying to catch up to the others. This was my first time seeing any kind of unidentifiable object in my life, and to see 5 of them in one night really overwhelmed me. I couldn't sleep at all. The curiosity of what those crafts were was too much for me to control. Whatever I saw, it was not conventional whatsoever. The sight of them has been burned in my mind continuously since the sighting.